Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Svelt Radio. I'm joined this time by my beautiful co-hosts, Anthony, Brittany. Hello.
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 Hey. Anthony's audio is a bit weird because he's at a castle in Portland. Specifically, not the U.S. Portland.
Yeah, luckily right now.
And specifically Pennsylvania Castle, which is also not the Pennsylvania next to New York.
Oh, wow.
It's absolutely beautiful, though, for listeners. Sorry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then I was going to say, we also have a very beautiful guest. Jeppe is back. I think you've been on the podcast once before, right? Or at least on the YouTube channel.
I have not. I've been on the video thingy. Yes. It's been a while.
That makes sense.
I have not been on radio.
Well, welcome, Jeppe.
Well, great to see you. I haven't been referred to as the beautiful before, so I'll take that. I'll keep it.
Every guest that we have is beautiful.
Oh,
yeah, beautiful.
That made it less cool.
Beautiful Storybook.
Yeah, so you work at Chromatic, right? I always mess that up. I always say, "Oh, you work at Storybook," but no.
Well,
maybe you can.
I work on Storybook at Chromatic.
Yeah. Maybe you can tell us a bit about yourself.
Yes, so I'm a software engineer at Chromatic, and I am from Denmark, but all my colleagues are not, so I work from home, and that's great. I love that. Everyone should do that. So I work on the Storybook team, and Storybook is open source. Storybook is free, but we're quite a big team. We're actually 8 maybe now, and everyone is in the core team works at Chromatic. So Chromatic funds the development of Storybook, and that's awesome. I've been doing that for 3 years now, and 3 years ago, the Svelte integration was not that great, but maybe it is now. So maybe there's something going on there.
Well, before that, let's maybe explain to the listeners what is Storybook. Like, give us the elevator pitch.
So Storybook is sort of like a workshop for component development, where usually when you're building components in Svelte, you will put them in your application and they will work fine. But then as you put them in like some other page, it'll start to break because that use case wasn't part of the component. And so Storybook is a way for you to look at your components in isolation, so that you can really just focus on the component and make it great with the props and what state it needs to be. And then you can specify different stories, which are like use cases for a set component. And then once you're ready, saying now the component is great, you put the component into your application, and then it's there, right? Storybook is sort of like a companion app, similar to VTest being something that runs alongside your application. It's not part of your application as such. And then you can use it for testing and for documentation as well, and for development. And yeah, that's Storybook in a nutshell.
Am I right in saying here that Storybook runs alongside your main application, but it shares the same source code so that what you're testing is the real thing?
Exactly. So similar to when you have some unit function file, you will write a .test file next to it and import your actual code. You'll also write a .stories file next to your components and then import your actual components. So it's using the same source. It's even using the same Vite config if you want to. And so the setup is the same, more or less.
All right, cool. So this episode is titled Storybook is Actually Good Now, because I remember back in the days, like before I started using Svelte, back when I was using the cursed framework, React. It wasn't very good.
Speak of React.
It wasn't very good back then either.
There's probably still a video of me on this Svelte Society YouTube channel just struggling to get Storybook set up, and I think that might have spurred some of this.
That was a very important video, that's for sure. And I can tell you all about the backstory here. So Storybook was originally for React. Like Storybook's old. Storybook's like 8 years old now or something, for React. And then it expanded into other frameworks as well. And it also expanded into Svelte via community contributions. And that was before my time, so I'm just relaying information I've heard, right? But essentially, these contributions were pretty great. It created a okay integration to like between Storybook and Svelte. But the problem with this was that these was often like drive-by contributions, because you would have like this very passionate engineer that got hired into a Svelte project and then he wanted to use Storybook. And so he spent a bunch of time contributing stuff. And then 6 months later, he got moved into another project that didn't use Svelte. And then he left it. And then the next engineer came in, and then that kept happening over and over again. And so they built something great, but then it wasn't really maintained by the same person. And that sort of made it rot a bit. Up to the point where Brittany posts a video of her setting up Storybook with Svelte. And the interesting thing about this video was that Brittany was very enthusiastic about it. Brittany really wants to make this work. And then,
enthusiastic is such a diplomatic way to put it.
Right. No, but she wanted it to work. It wasn't just like, I'm going to do a video and then rant about all this not working. Like, that just happened because the experience was so bad. And that was an eye-opener, for sure. And the biggest reason was, from my remembering, this was maybe 3 years ago. The biggest reason was that Storybook was only Webpack back then, and Svelte had already moved over to Vite. So when you try to set up the same thing in Webpack and Vite, you're going to run into something you don't like.
It was that Webpack config, man. That was awful.
And I believe the video ends with Brittany just saying, I can't do this. This doesn't work.
Brittany is a reverse influencer.
And so
At
that same time, I was actually I was interviewing for Storybook, and one of the things that I said was like, I really like Svelte. So if there's anything we want to do about Svelte, I would love to help out. And then combining that with Brittany's video, it was like, oh, we need to do work here. And so that started our first integration to SvelteKit. We did an official SvelteKit package, which was basically, if you have SvelteKit, here is a zero config setup for you, because there's some stuff that you need to modify, and we'll modify that behind the scenes in your Vite config. And that really kickstarted the whole let's improve the Svelte integration. And with me being on the core team, with me being sort of enthusiastic about Svelte, I love Svelte, that was like sort of one hand that just could keep maintaining it instead of these drive-by maintainers. And so I've been building on top of what we had previously. I haven't started anything from scratch. I don't want to take the work away from them. Yeah, and so it also kickstarted a collaboration with the Svelte core team. I think Ben McCann, who's like a fantastic guy, he was the first one to reach out and say, hey, can we make this integration better? And
Ben is kind of
throughout the years.
I was going to say Ben feels like he's like the glue. Yeah, he's the glue between everything.
He does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the integrations guy. He just kind of reaches out to every third party and then says, "Hey, let's integrate in both directions," which is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. And he keeps doing that, like with the new package overview ecosystem thing, right? So that's amazing. And essentially that collaboration between the Storybook core team and the Svelte core team just kept improving. We kept having more and more people chiming in. Dominic also helped out a lot. Lately, Simon has also helped out. Paolo, of course, has contributed stuff. And it's just really powerful. So because in Storybook, we integrate with all the major frameworks now. We have like Angular, Vue, and React, and web components and such. And there's no other framework that we are more closely collaborating with than Svelte, like by far. And we can really see the impact in every day, basically.
So in terms of like functionality that has gotten better, I have some vague memory of was it slots that was a bit problematic to do stories with? Or am I misremembering?
Right. Yeah, so
that's working now. Well, I guess slots aren't a thing kind of ish anymore. So
Then snippets is just as awful, honestly. If we hadn't done anything, right? And so there's a specific format in Storybook that you write your stories in, and it's based on JavaScript ESM, and so you have these objects, and then you reference your components, but then Svelte components, and you want to pass in slots to them. You can't really define a Svelte component in JavaScript. And so that's like the API for that it's really bad, and therefore there exists an alternative syntax called Svelte CSF, which also existed before my time. I just improved it, where you write all your stories in Svelte syntax. So that way you can get in slots or snippets, and you can do your Svelte states and your derived, like all the runes work. And that is what we hear, at least from users, that like they really like that way better because they're used to their Svelte syntax, so they just want to write their stories in the Svelte syntax. Like, imagine if you could do the same thing for your v-test unit tests, writing that in Svelte. So.
Right.
Well, I've been saying that for a while, that I do all of my testing in Storybook now because it uses v-test, and you just write a play prop on your Svelte CSF, and you write your test just straight in that.
And I'm happy to hear that. I mean, that's what we want people to see, because like, so for people that don't know, like stories is like this snapshot of your component in a with specific props in a specific environment. Maybe you have like a component that is encapsulating your other component, or maybe you have Svelte context. And then, as Brittany say, you can also write a play function, is what we call it, where essentially you interact with the component as well. So you might do click the button and assert that the form has opened, or assert that you got a form error or whatever. And then when you see this in the Storybook UI, you will see the interactions play out. So you can actually see the mouse clicking and whatever. And we feel that that's pretty powerful. That because UI is visual, why does it have to live in the CLI?
You can see each step, you can stop each step, you can like replay the test, it's such a nice visual to go along with it. I love it.
I think that's a really powerful thing. The ability to step through something, which kind of relates to how debuggers work, I suppose. But a lot of early testing frameworks for UIs, and I've had many years of experience with them as a contributor and a person who uses them day to day. The thing that was really missing from everything was a way to kind of properly debug it, or properly step through, go and watch visually what's happening as the steps of the test execute. And I think when I saw, what was it called? I haven't used it so long, I've forgotten the browser testing framework, Cypress, right? When I see that, and I didn't like the syntax, it wasn't like I was used to, but the fact you could stop a test and just see what's going on right there, it makes debugging go from like probably hours of time wasted debugging to instant debugging. And I think that's like a super valuable feature.
And also there's so Playwright also have like traces videos where you can see the recording, which is also very powerful, right? Our take on that is the interactability. So what Storybook allows you to do, like you build a static version of your Storybook, and then you can publish that with Chromatic or with Netlify or whatever you want to do it. And then if there's a problem in your interaction test, you can send the link, the publish link, you can send that to your designer or someone and say, hey, why is this not working as you intended it to work? And then they can actually interact with it. They can stop at the step that it's broken in, and then they can write stuff in it's not just a static image or a static video. And I think that's super powerful.
Yeah. I need to really like set up Storybook for the new Svelte Society website. Maybe I can invite you to with testing. Yeah,
sure.
Oh no, with the new SV integration too, like it's literally a one-step thing. You just select that you want to add Storybook, and it's so easy to just get in there.
That was also like the Svelte people's.
I should redo the video, but it would be like 5 minutes of me just setting up a Svelte kit site. It's super
and then
easy.
you'd be an influencer then, and we don't want that.
I should do a TikTok video of it.
We also recently modified or contributed to the Svelt docs, and so now Storybook is described how you test with Storybook in the Svelt docs. So that should make it easier to get started.
Nice. Yeah. I might need more hand holding, so I might just invite you to do a video with me.
That's a good idea. I had a great chat with Scott Tolinsky at the Svelte Summit, where he basically told me that they were doing component-driven rewrite of their website syntax, and they were doing it like Storybook first, which was like amazing to hear because he has been not a fan of it previously, and so now hearing that they're doing it with a component first and then putting it into the application afterwards, that was pretty amazing to hear.
Yeah,
I so envious of people who get to rewrite the websites.
Yes.
That's how I build my design systems now. I'm on my second design system where I've started building components, put them in Storybook, test everything, and then they get dished out to the apps.
It's like the dream. It's like how dev should have worked, right?
Yeah.
Greenfield is best field.
Yeah. Yeah, brownfield, not so much.
Everything feels like brownfield.
Yeah, I've been working on way too many not greenfield apps lately. It's a bit painful.
It's healthy though.
So,
I mean, getting a brownfield application to work is like way harder than so.
Yeah, we learn from mistakes and all that.
My latest company is taking a greenfield design system and putting it back into other things now. But that's like even harder, I feel like.
Rainbow field.
We have a new application it's being used in, but then they're like, oh, this old application can use it too, right? So now we're just migrating everything.
Right.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Storybook got us there faster.
I mean, probably, right?
That's, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, would be bad if it was the other way around. Took longer.
No, I think it's such an easy integration and building out your components, making sure they work. I mean, you have less bugs for your users once it does get used. So we're able to put those into older applications easier and know that it's trusted.
Yeah. I had a question about, so I don't know if you've thought about this much, but these new remote functions that have been released in SvelteKit, now that we have a way of basically combining data loading and interactions via like functions, are you thinking about how to maybe integrate that into Storybook? Like you could have a remote, let's say you have like a widget of comments or something, and then you have, you want to make sure that the remote function does its thing in maybe different variations of like failure states, or success states, etc. Is that something you've?
For sure. So there's one important limitation about Storybook to know is that everything you do happens on the client.
Yeah.
And that's why we can also do static builds, because there's no server really. And that's of course a big issue for remote functions because they're meant to run on the server. And there's really just two ways to think about it. Is what is it that if you consider a story like a test, what is it exactly that you want to be part of that? Because sometimes you might say that you just want to look at the component and the UI, and that the remote function is not part of that. And so you mock it out. Essentially, Storybook has a mocking API similar to vtest. So you will just say, mock this remote file and replace it with something that you fully control.
Yeah.
When this function is called with these parameters, return that. And I think that's easy, and that makes your stories deterministic. You don't want your stories at all to depend on externalities at all. But then you say, well, but then I'm not testing the fact that the interaction with the remote function works. And so you can also say, keep the remote function, but then mock out all the server-dependent parts. So maybe you have a database that you're calling, and so you want to mock out the database modules instead. And so it really is up to you where you want to define the layer, but you are probably going to need to mock something because the remote functions work on the server, which we don't have.
And that's fine that you would have to mark it, because you would have to mark any kind of call to remote service anyway, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want the remote service to have an impact. I must say that I haven't tried remote functions in Storybook yet. So there's the API of remote functions with like query and command and that jazz. I'm not actually sure how that works in Storybook form. Mm-hmm. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I need to have a chat with someone from the Svelte team about what it does behind the scenes, and can I make that work on the client as well. Right. But so for now, the safest bet would be mock out the full remote function. And then I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So that would mean so at the moment you would just import the function, right, in your component, and then you would use it. So you would have to rewrite. You would either have to import the function from somewhere else or pass it in as a prop. So you kind of run into some weird.
You can because you can mock the module. You can import the remote function directly. Okay. That's a strong suit about Svelte. Because if you compare that to React server components, which are I have all my server stuff at my component, and Storybook just chokes on that for now. We have ideas, but you can't really just say I want to mock certain parts of my file. Right? It's either
I see.
Or.
Okay.
And that's really the benefit of the. I know that this is Rich Harris's big thing, is that you need to have separate files for your server and your client always.
And that definitely
makes Storybook way easier, because then you can say all these server files over here, I'll just mock those out because they don't. The client.
Even it makes sense in terms of not getting confused between dependencies and not accidentally importing certain things where they shouldn't be imported and get exposed in a bundle or something. But even beyond that, if you look at how mocking has worked for a million years, no matter what framework or testing library you use, they always struggle with partial mocks. Partial mocks themselves feel like an anti-pattern anyway, but they're kind of like a last case resort, but they always struggle, because you're trying to like take something real and just kind of half fake it. It just doesn't, the whole concept is balmy. So yeah.
Yeah, so you just put in mock, and then you pass in the path to the remote function file, and then that whole file is mocked out. You don't have to do dependency injection or anything.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
it's a good answer. So what what is coming up in Storybook? Like what's a new cool thing that we can talk about?
Storybook 10 is in beta, and Storybook 10 is not. We did some Svelte fixes. We did so in SvelteKit. You have this. You've had this module called $app/state for a while since Svelte 5, and we didn't support mocking that, but now we do in Storybook 10 at least. So essentially, if you're writing stories for your page, which is totally fine, you don't have to do it for design systems. And this page, it imports what is the current URL, what is the current query parameters from app state, and then in the stories you just define, well, this is a story where the URL is X, and this is a story where the parameter is Y, and so you set up these scenarios for each page state essentially.
Yeah.
And we just added support for that now. Even though it's been a while.
That sounds really nice, especially if you want to test like a full page, and you're relying a lot on query params and stuff like that.
Yeah, because like doing this manually is often really tedious. Like,
right,
you have to keep visiting this page over here with these exact user logged in and whatever, and that's where Storybook really shines, in that you just predefine that in your story and say this is when the user is logged in. We also added support for async components.
Oh, nice.
Which is great. It should just work out of the box, and you can even in your play functions, you can even do some assertions, like when the async stuff is still loading, and then you can await it being done loading, and then you can do some more assertions. So you can really do like in between the async stuff.
You're actually giving me ideas right now, because I have not been testing my pages. We just have the components in Storybook, but then the pages go in the app. And we send them to QA and then they come back like 15 times because it's like manual process. She goes and she checks everything. It fails. It comes back to me. And so I could just run these tests to make sure everything works.
Yeah, true.
And
you'll speed up development as well, right? Because you'll just skip the back and forth because you'll see the errors yourself.
Yeah, and you can run. I don't know. Maybe you do that, Brittany. But like if you run the tests, like the Storybook story tests in the CLI and CI, then it'll fail when you.
I do it locally. I don't have it set up in our CI right now, but yes.
One thing that you need to do, like when you do think about SvelteKit pages in Storybook, is that there's no way of automatically adding the layouts, similar to like what SvelteKit does. So when you write a story for a page, you also need to write that it is within this layout and this layout. That's also sort of powerful because then you can look at the page in different layouts, but it's also like sort of painful because SvelteKit does that for you automatically. Yeah. So it's you win some, you lose some.
It's not that much.
I guess that also means
you
could theoretically create a scenario that can't exist in real world, maybe.
For sure. Oh yeah. Like if you just put in the page and you ignore the layout, but the layout would always be there, then you have created a scenario that doesn't really exist in the application.
Yeah. So you just create a layout component and wrap it and everything kind of like React, like you would have to.
I mean,
because
just
could you do that?
You just import the layout component and then put it around.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yep.
Yeah. And if you're very curious about that, that's the video I did with Kevin 2 years ago or something. So I don't think much has changed since then. Maybe even the syntax.
Nice. All right. So Storybook has faster, better, smaller.
Faster and smaller. Storybook 9 was a lot smaller because we spent like month and month of making it smaller with fewer dependencies, better dependencies. And then for Storybook 10, we're going ESM only, which is huge for us as maintainers. Yes. But it's also huge for users because users ran into a lot of issues like, oh, this is the CSS file that you really did not want. And we're just eliminating a huge chunk of bugs. It is a breaking change for a lot of people, but I think for the Svelte community, it's not so much a breaking change because everything is ESM only anyway in Svelte. So I wouldn't expect a lot of issues there.
I have kind of a random question too.
Good.
So we have a very large icon library, like the entire material library. It's like over 2,000 icons. And at first I was importing it and it was not tree shaking it very well. We have to import the direct file rather than the entire like library. And Storybook would it will still even freeze up sometimes when there's a lot of icons on the page. Mm-hmm. Is there something I'm doing wrong there? Or does that need to be done in a different way?
It's still in stories only, right? You're not putting the icons in the manager UI, are you?
The icons are in the components, not in Storybook, no.
I mean, I don't know. I think so Storybook in that regard just does the same sort of bundling as your application would do. And so I would expect that the output would be the same as your SvelteKit app. We do have some performance regressions that I'm fixing, which is essentially Storybook does some automatic code doc gen where we parse all your Svelte files and then we see what are the props so you can have a nice props table and such. And right now we do that for all your Svelte components in your whole module graph. And so that means that you have 5,000 icons.
Yeah.
We'll parse all those icons. And that's a waste of time. So maybe that's what's happening, and then there's a way to disable that. But otherwise, I would still, even with the E18E community also says, it's avoid the barrel files. Just import the components or the icons explicitly.
Okay. Yeah, that's what we're doing. I just still have that sometimes, but.
Yeah. I don't know. It could be the performance regression I'm talking about.
I think sometimes we'll auto import stuff and it will come
over a podcast.
Auto imports are sometimes annoying. That's true.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Jeppe, or should we, or do you have any other topics that
Well, you asked what we're working on, and so I can also say that we redid our documentation for Svelte. Before it was just a README in a repository, but now we actually put it in the official Storybook docs.
That's great.
We also rewrote we have like an introduction tutorial for each framework, and we rewrote that from scratch. So it's Svelte 5, and so it's SvelteKit and such, and with the new Svelte CSF syntax. That's really important to us because that specific tutorial actually ranks pretty high in Google. So we have a lot of visitors there.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, other than that, I mean, it's we rely heavily on snippets in the new Svelte 5 world, and that's great. I mean, snippets are great for Storybook. I don't know how much they're used outside of that use case, but in Storybook, it's an awesome API to leverage. So hopefully we can do that more in the future.
Yeah, snippets are such an improvement over slots, even as just like a application developer. Right. So what after Storybook 10, what can we expect? Is it going to get even better, faster, and smaller? Or is the secret?
All of them, all the time. So we have a lot of especially Chromatic customers, but also Storybook users that are asking for better AI support. And you can have your opinions about AI and agents. I certainly have mine, but the matter of fact is that we want to give something to these users that are asking for it. And so we're building out a few Storybook MCP servers, especially for design systems. So if you build your design system, then we'll make a tool that makes it easier for consumers of that design system to use it. So the agents will understand what is actually the components that it can use from the design system and such.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this would interact then with some deployed Storybook.
Exactly, right. So the idea is that when you deploy a Storybook, when you publish a Storybook, it'll also publish some JSON files that includes all the information that you put in, like components and props, and maybe you have descriptions, and maybe you have like examples. And then the MCP server will pull from that information. So that's exciting. There's at least a lot of people that are excited about that. But there's as we know, there's also people that hate that, and that's totally fine.
You don't have to use it if you don't want it.
Exactly. And the cool thing about this is that it's totally separated. So because we have a lot of, maybe Brittany can understand, but we have a lot of design system users over the years that have been asking us, can I please have this information that I put into Storybook? Can I get a way to get it out of Storybook again? Because you want to build your own documentation website, or you want to, I don't know, whatever, right? And so we're building that as part of this. Because we're now building these JSON files or these JSON endpoints that, well, you can consume them however you want. You don't have to use the MCP server. You can also just use them as information.
That's cool. I actually just wanted a better way to document within Storybook because I wanted it to live in one place. I was building a separate documentation site at my last job, and that would have been useful. Yeah, like just pulling over the stories. I would just throw the Storybook link in there if they wanted to go to the story. But then you're like, you're pulling props out again and like having to list all of those out. All of your types are being listed out separately. Like it would be useful. I can see that.
And making sure that like, you changed the component.
Yeah, you got to change it in 3 different places.
Right, exactly.
Just bound to become a mess. So that's nice. So does that also mean that we can kind of almost build our own front end for Storybook?
Sure.
Just consuming the JSON files?
Yeah.
I guess you could already do that somehow. But
yeah, well, so Storybook does a lot of automated, like we automatically extract the prop types from your components and put them in.
Right.
And so that information will be now available to you at runtime for anything, right? You can also, it's always been possible to embed stories as iframes. And so you could potentially combine this into whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
There's some really like the power users of design systems, they want their own UI. And that's totally fine. We're also working on, speaking of that, we're also working on improving the theming support of Storybook. So So if you want to use Storybook as like the front for your company, then making it look great is also important for a lot of people, or making it look like your brand.
Yeah.
And the APIs we have for that now are okay. That's very diplomatic.
It's kind of difficult now.
And so we want to rely more on like the standards, CSS variables, and like whatever the web platform provides.
You should see my Storybook CSS file. It's like it's hitting every specifier like down the chain, trying to get to the right thing.
Yeah, that does not sound fun.
No.
And so that's also been a requested feature for many of our power users for years, that they can make it easier to make their Storybook look like however they want, like with dark theme and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Cool.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we are actually running out of time. Brittany, you need to leave in 6 minutes, I think. 4 minutes?
Yep.
I don't know. Something like that. Tight.
Tight.
All right. Can we do unpopular opinions and picks before that? I'm going to skip my unpopular opinion. Does anyone have a short unpopular opinion?
I have one.
Okay, go.
So I'm doing a lot of project planning lately, not just coding, but also planning projects. And I like Gantt charts. I like
that is very unpopular opinion.
Yes. If you have a project and you have multiple team members, and then everyone in their head has like, I have to do this task, and then after that I have to do that task, and then that task. And for me, that lives inside my head. But when I put it on screen as a Gantt chart, it's like this timeline chart, I can see, oh wow, this task is completely impossible to do. I have to move it over to that member instead. And it appears that I'm the only one. So
my old designer used to like them.
Exactly.
You like drawing them.
It was a good visual for people, I think.
I have an opinion about an unpopular opinion, if that makes sense. So
okay.
My opinion is that there are certain CEOs have unpopular opinions, right? And I think that my opinion on that fact is that ultimately I'm quite happy to see the way the community is responding to, should we ditch Svelte, should we ditch React, should we ditch Next.js, whatever. Like the way the community is responding around these things is actually really positive. And I've not seen much kind of like knee-jerk, throw it on the bin, start with whatever else, Angular, whatever's going on nowadays. But, it's been a bit more positive. It's been a bit more like, Svelte is an independent project, Svelte is an independent project, direction is not defined, it's all this kind of cool stuff, which is really heartwarming because it's usually the opposite. So that's my opinion.
I agree.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, the Svelte community in general is very heartwarming. I learned that in Barcelona.
The best.
People are just so nice to each other. So
yeah, it really is the best. Like, I agree. All right, picks. Anyone?
I pick. Can I go? Is that or someone else wants to go?
Yeah,
first?
go for it.
Well, I picked Pennsylvania Castle. No, not just because I'm in it, but it is really cool. It's really nice. Like a lot of castles you go to are kind of falling apart and cold and everything else. This castle is really plush and nice inside. There's lots of big old rooms. Apparently, Eisenhower and someone else, three very famous old president type people. President Eisenhower is one of them. Met in one of these rooms to discuss the invasion of. Was it the Battle of Bastille? It was somewhere in France. My history is not wonderful, but they met in one of these rooms to decide to invade in historic times. So this castle's got quite a bit of a history behind it, but it's now also got a heated swimming pool, which is right behind me, which is awesome. And it's just cavernous, and you can wander around. And there's a room that's in none of the listeners can see, but there's a room that's in the turret over there, which is a really cool round bedroom, and one of them's got an armoire that opens up full of clothes, like a rotating doors and stuff. It's very cool. It's very cool.
Sounds like a very modern kind of castle.
Yeah, it's an ancient castle that's modern. It feels comfortable. It's bizarre. I can't explain it. Yeah, but everything inside is old. It's just well maintained. And Bjork hired all of it. We had the whole castle for the last 4 days. So we're just having like a retreat.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's been blazing sun apart from today, so we've been swimming in the sea, which is just there.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
On that theme, I'm going to pick Spain because a lot of people like going to Europe. I mean, we don't hear very much like Spain is the place to go, but when we were there in Barcelona and then we traveled around Spain, and it was just not just the history, because you get that in all of Europe, but it's just so beautiful. There's so many castles. Every city was like its own culture and history, and it's crazy. So I'll pick Spain.
Good pick. Jeppe?
Do you like Spain?
I'll pick something more developing. I'll pick Tubal. So Tubal is this app for pairing, like screen sharing. You call your colleague and then you pair and you share. And it's just, it has the best video quality. It has the best,
How do you spell
like
it?
TUPLE.app.
Oh, yeah. I think I've heard about this. Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, it's just, you don't have this lag that you get from Slack, and you can type in each other's screens and whatever.
Oh,
It's
neat.
just, it's really, and I think they built the whole streaming video from the ground up in some
Wow.
assembly language just to make it fast, and it is super fast.
So is
need to try that out.
tuple?
Tuple, maybe.
Tuple,
Yeah.
like two, like a pair.
Yes.
Oh,
Tuple.
Like the
Nice.
data structure.
Okay.
well,
Yeah, like a data
Yeah.
structure.
oh, look
Nice.
who's like a native English speaker. Oh, look at me. I know words. Yeah. Anyways, it's great. I can really recommend. I'm sure it's also cost stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. $30
I'm-
per user per month. Ooh,
Right.
That's,
It's really great. We use it
Alright.
every day, multiple hours a day. So
I mean, that is worth it for sure.
Yeah, if it works, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. All right. I think with that we are done because I don't have time for my pick. So thanks everyone for listening, and thank you, Jeppe, for joining us. Even if it was a bit short, we can do another
good.
one that's longer later.
Yeah, do a
but
video one with you too.
Yeah, we should do
right.
the
Yeah,
video.
That'll be fun.
All
That'll be
right. And with that said, goodbye, everyone. Bye.
Till next time. Bye.
Bye bye. Take care.
Bye.
I'll see you
Bye.
all.